All right, it's time for some insight to Israel. I'm your host, Natasha Kirchuk, and coming up, we'll meet a Holocaust survivor who's fostered 52 children. We'll reveal how Israeli high schoolers are helping combat malnutrition across Africa. And as abortion bans rock the United States, we'll take an inside look at abortion policy in the state of Israel. All right, I hope you've got your tissues ready because we're about to meet a woman whose story is so powerful, it's literally changed hundreds of lives. Just watch.
אני מרי נחמיאס, גידלתי 52 ילדים באומנה. ערבים, יהודים, כל ילד שהביאו קיבל את החום מאהבה בדיוק כמו נכדים.
Meet Marie, a Holocaust survivor who has over 100 descendants today. She was born and raised in Tunisia, where life was good until 1942, when World War II reached her doorstep.
בזמן השואה, גרמנים באו, התחילו לאסוף כל הצעירים. אז אבא קנה בקבוקים חומצת מלח. היינו ערב החתונה שלי, היינו 7 כלות. באו ערבים עם הגרמנים לרקוד, לאכול, עשו כיף ואחר כך הלכו. פתאום ב2 בלילה עם גרזינים, שוברים את הדלת. אמר, מה אתם רוצים? הם הרימו את הראש, רוצים את הכלה, ואבא מהר ריסס אותם. אוי אוי אוי, צעקו לשמיים ובורחים. הם ברחו והוא אמר לי, בואי מהר, תעלה עכשיו על הסולם ותברחי מבלוק לבלוק. אז אני קופצת מגג לגג, מגג ונופלת ונגג. עד היום יש לי את הפלטינות. מאותו ערב 7 היינו כלות, רק אני ניצלתי.
Marie finally immigrated to Israel in 1950. She faced crippling poverty, but she was able to build a home, raising 8 children along the way. And then something happened to one of her sons that would change her life forever.
ראה את הקצין שלו נופל, אז הוא הלך מהר להגיש עזרה. הוא מטפל בו ואמר לו, שאול, קום, 3 באים אחריך. מכוונים עליך, שאול, קום, אני כבר מת, תעזוב אותי. כשרצה לקום, אז הם נתנו את הכדורים מהגב, יצא לו כל הבטן החוצה. הסתובב עם יד מחזיק, כל הבטן כך מחזיר את המעיים, ועם יד ריסס אותם. אמרתי, אלוהים, יקום לי שאול ויצא לי בריא, ויחזור לי כמו שהיה, אני נעשה כל מצווה שיש עד יום מותי.
And Marie kept her promise. After her son Shaul miraculously recovered, he became a municipal social worker. And one day, an abandoned baby was dropped off at his office.
נלחץ, הרים לי טלפון, אמא, בא אחד ושם לי תינוקת פה, ומה אני לא יודעת, חמה אש תינוקת. מה נעשה, אמא, תסביר לי. מהר עשיתי את התרופות של הסבתות. מהתרופות שלנו הערביות, עד הבוקר הילדה ירדה חום, פתחה העיניים, וטיפלתי בה, ונהייתה בובה של ילדה.
After taking in the little girl, Marie understood what her life mission would become: to take in every abandoned child, no matter what its background or medical state.
היה ילד ערבי בגיל פחות משנה, ונתקע לו בגרון. הילד נשאר צמח. האמא יש לה 2 בנים קטנים, לא יכלה, אז צלצלו אליי. אז ההורים אמרו, מה, יהודיה? אנחנו מפחדים. אמרתי לו, אדוני, הבן שלך נולד רק אחרי 2 חודשים בהיריון, אמר לי 9 חודשים. ואתה 9 חודשים, ואני 9 חודשים. כולנו בני 9 חודשים. כולנו בני אדם וכולם אלוהים ברא אותנו.
Marie quickly became known for opening her home to anyone without a second thought.
יש עיוורת, יש מונגולואיד, יש צליאק. ילדים כאלה לא זורקים בפח. תביאו לי. כשהם יושנים אני סורגת ומוכרת, תופרת וילונות, עד 4 בבוקר, מבשלת. אם אני יושן 2 בלילה, זה יש לי מזל גדול. הכסף שאני עובדת בשביל לתת להם. האוכל מצוין, נקיים, לבית ספר, לגן, כל מה שצריך.
This year, Marie was selected to light a torch at Israel's annual Independence Day celebration, which is considered one of the biggest honors in Israeli society. But prizes mean nothing to the 93-year-old.
נותנים לי תעודה ולפרסים, אומרת אני רוצה את הפרס מלמעלה. היהודים וערבים, נוצרים ודרוזים, ככה נהיה, כולנו יד אחד. All right, now get this. Some Israeli high schoolers are on a mission to change how we feed the world. Their Tel Aviv high school has launched a project to produce an edible algae food supplement that can fight malnutrition. And their work has been so successful that African countries are now coming to Israel to learn about the technology. Now, the entire project began 6 years ago at the Herzliya Gymnasium High School, where students decided to take up a challenge to develop a low-cost way of producing spirulina. What is spirulina, you ask? Well, it's an edible algae that's jam-packed with vitamins and nutrients, but it's very expensive to buy in most health food stores. Spirulina was actually used by the ancient Aztecs in South America, and it was only rediscovered as a food supplement back in the 1970s. Now, the Tel Aviv High School decided to order some of the algae from abroad so that they could figure out a method to grow it cheaply and easily. And once they found the solution, they started working with schools in South Africa and Rwanda. Now, the students have helped set up a local spirulina production center in even more African countries, including Ethiopia, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And in these nations, up to 1.5 million children suffer from malnutrition. And just 5 grams of dehydrated spirulina powder a month could return these kids back to health. Now, the Israeli high school's main goal is to teach other schools how to produce the life-saving product, rather than just, of course, sell or distribute it, which is why representatives from the Democratic Republic of the Congo recently visited the school to learn about their tech. Every year, thousands of people immigrate to the state of Israel, and while it can be very exciting, it's not always an easy process. A third of all suicides in Israel are committed by Olim Chadashim, or new immigrants. And joining us now with more details is Liami Lawrence, the co-founder and CEO of the organization Keep Olim, and Dr. Camila Folkosh-Lavan, a psychologist that works with the NGO. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so first of all, briefly tell us a little bit about what Keep Olim is.
Sure. So Keep Olim is a nonprofit for all Olim. Basic mission is to keep Olim, simply because we saw too many people leave. And what do Olim need? They need better support, more programs, mental health.
So these are kind of basic things that would really just change the general experience of a new immigrant here. Now, what made you create this organization? And I understand that suicide is kind of a major reason.
So let me explain to you. I was here for 9 months. I moved here from Beverly Hills. And after 9 months, I had no job, no money, no food, nothing. And I was sick. Neighbors and friends were bringing me food. And so I went to Facebook to say that I was leaving. My friend Tal told me, go to Facebook, make a group, create a group. In 48 hours, we had something like 3,000 people join the group. bitching and complaining in 10 different languages. It was insane. And then we realized my partner in Kippolim, Svika Greiver, my co-founder, approached me and said, hey, I'm a lawyer. Why don't we actually make a Amutah, a nonprofit, to actually help Olim, and instead of just bitching about it. So that's exactly what we did.
So I know I myself, as a new immigrant, am in a lot of these Facebook groups because I just need help to do simple things that, in my home country might be a little bit easier, but here it's more difficult because of language. There are a lot of different factors. I mean, why are we seeing such high rates of Olim Hadashim committing suicide? What are the risk factors?
So in general, before a person gets to suicidal thoughts or actually committing suicide, there are many steps. There's a process, yes? But when a person is in a new environment, often without a language, new culture, the support system isn't there, maybe the family is very far away, everything is heightened, okay? So there's adjustment difficulties. Stress is very, very high, sometimes to the point where it could be a diagnosable condition. And one of the problems is that there isn't enough awareness. There aren't enough professionals that speak the language of the person wherever it is that they're coming from. They're not really understood. So even if they will go, first of all, a lot of people won't reach out because it's something that people feel uncomfortable with or embarrassed, or they think that they will deal with it by themselves. There's stigma against mental health sometimes, so it stops people from reaching out. But even if, let's say, they do reach out, a lot of times they're not understood. So it only adds to frustration, and it adds to the anxieties and difficulties and feeling low and feeling sad and without any assistance, really.
And this is obviously something that is just specific to the immigrant experience, no matter what country you're in, whether or
No,
not
no matter
it's
what
Israel.
country you're from. It's,
Yeah.
listen, to learn a new language, to come to a new culture, to start with no family, no friends, is very hard.
There are so many stressors that people go through, like even to go to a bank, and how do you fill out a check?
Oh, absolutely. So, what is different here in Israel is the fact that you do have perhaps more agencies that are involved in helping the immigrant experience be easier, but of course that's not always enough. What kind of support do you guys believe needs to be offered to new immigrants that they don't have right now?
So right now, Kippolim, one of the cornerstones of Kippolim is mental health. We've had 12 overdoses and suicides in our group. Our organization is less than 4 years old. And people call us. Last year, I fielded 70 distressed Olim calls. We put some of them in hospitals. We deal with their families. We get them therapists. This is one of the therapists that we get them, Dr. Forecast. We have, this past year so far, the one now, we're a few months into the year, already more than 35 distressed calls came to Kippolim. We have a mental health program under the leadership of Dr. Robert Lubin, who deals with all the therapists. We have 80 therapists that have registered for Kippolim. We started support groups last month in your native language. Because you call Iran the suicide hotline of Israel, they only talk Arabic and Hebrew. There's no services for Olim. So Olim are turning to us.
And I would imagine that, a big issue here is just the taboo around talking about these mental health issues, that, immigrating to Israel isn't as beautiful and colorful as one might have expected it to be. Just feel uncomfortable enough to talk about that, right?
A lot of people feel stigmatized to go to therapy. And Israel's a little bit backwards in this thinking because I come from LA. And everybody has a therapist. And you say, hey, what'd you do today? Oh, I went to my therapist, and we went out to the gym.
Here in Israel, they're like, rub some dirt in it, you'll be fine, right?
So there's a stigma against seeking help, and especially for lone soldiers in the army, because they have no one to turn to. They're in a tough position because we get calls all the time from distressed soldiers in the battlefield, and they cannot tell their commanders, because they feel that the profile will get lowered, the gun will get taken away, and they'll be either at a desk job or released from the army. and we have a
Right,
lot
so there's a
of...
whole another array of issues within this. Well, I guess the final question that I have, and we have to wrap this up, unfortunately, would be just, what is your hope for the future? Maybe, Camila, you could kind of give us some insight.
I would love to see that that some of the programs that we're working on with Kipolim really do go forward, and we have the funding to put them together. There's still a stigma, and there's still a lack of understanding in public in general, but specifically for people that come from different cultures, to have the awareness of the culture, of the needs, of the stressor point. Maybe to have some programs where people can visit their families. Maybe lone soldiers that come here are attached to a certain family, that they would be able to go home on the weekend and provide that love.
Support.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming in and talking to us about this extremely important issue. There does need to be more awareness, and hopefully this interview is going to get that awareness out there.
Thank you so
Amen,
much.
amen, amen. Thank you.
Abortion policy is at the center of political discussion in the United States nowadays, but it's barely an issue in Israeli news. What does abortion policy look like here in Israel? Here's everything you need to know. Abortion, that's what's on everybody's minds in the United States right now.
It is very unfair to tell me whether or not I should have this child or not.
But where does Israel stand on this issue? In Israel, an estimated 9 out of 1,000 pregnancies end in abortion, which is much less than in most Western countries. 90% of these terminations are conducted before the 12th week of pregnancy. But what do abortion laws look like in the state of Israel, a country where the line between state and religion is often blurred? We're about to break it down. Abortion in Israel is legal as long as it's approved by the government's Pregnancy Termination Committee. But abortions are only approved under the following conditions. 1. The woman's not married. 2. The woman's younger than 18 or older than 40. 3. The pregnancy is a result of a crime such as rape or illegal incest. 4. The child is liable to be born with a physical or mental health defect. And finally, 5. The pregnancy could endanger the life of the mother. In 2016, there were over 18,000 women who requested to terminate their pregnancies here in Israel. About 99% of them were approved by the committee because it's considered a crime to do so otherwise. The most common reason for terminating a pregnancy in Israel is because it's out of wedlock. But what if you're a woman who wants to terminate a pregnancy and you're married? This is where it gets tricky.
The state largely does not approve abortion to women who are married. That's why most women have to lie to the committee in order to have an abortion. Some women will say they committed adultery. Some women will say they have mental problems. All these lies can affect women in case they are getting divorced because everything is fully documented.
48.2% of requests for abortions are from married women in Israel, which poses quite the predicament. Although abortion is largely accessible for most women in Israel, it's still controversial. Iflat is one of the leading organizations that advocates against abortion. And it's known for trying to persuade women not to terminate their pregnancies.
The Ifrat organization gives assistance to pregnant women in financial distress who are considering having an abortion against their inner wishes because of the money problems, because of pressure from their boyfriend, father, husband, whatever. Our experience is that the women who have abortions are sorry about it afterwards.
Religious parties are becoming more powerful in the Israeli parliament, many of which believe that abortion is wrong. But no matter how many opposing views exist, is there any chance that Israel could see a reversal of abortion policy take place? Will Israel follow the U.S.? These are questions that have yet to be answered. Tel Aviv's annual Gay Pride Parade isn't taking place until June 14th, but events are already starting across the city to prepare for the upcoming event. Joining us now in the studio is our correspondent Elad Samocha with the details. Elad.
Hey. So tourists from all over the world are coming to celebrate Pride in Tel Aviv, which is considered one of the most LGBTQ-friendly cities in the world. Now, Israel was a bit worried that after the Eurovision, Pride would be emptier, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
No, it doesn't. And every year there's actually a theme for the Pride Week celebrations, right?
Yeah. So this year's Pride Week theme is outside of the law, which is basically to protest the lack of rights that LGBT people have in Israel. So while there's so much freedom to be who you are, it doesn't necessarily mean that the government will back it up. An example for that is the surrogacy law that was overruled this year. So basically the idea was to make it legal for same-sex couples to have a baby through surrogacy.
Instead, they only approved single parents the right to surrogacy, which means that as long as you're a single parent, whether it be a man or a woman, you can go through the surrogacy process, but a same-sex couple cannot.
That's right, which many are calling ridiculous and primitive. Many are asking why it's the government's business how you decide to bring a child into this world.
Well, I mean, many of these couples feel like this ruling is basically telling them that they don't have the right to have a family. But what about other options that exist right now? I mean, putting surrogacy aside, there's adoption, of course.
Well, adoption is a whole nother story. So it's technically allowed, but the hoops that they have to go through are just crazy and so much more than a straight couple would have to. That's why the theme of this Pride this year is really for the gay community to send out the message to the government that no matter what the laws are, this is who we are and this is who we stand for.
Right. Well, Elad, you know, we're going to have to see how Tel Aviv obviously shapes up for this coming Pride celebration. And thanks for joining me with this info.
Thank you.
All right, it's time for our segment, What's Trending with Nittany Manson. And today, Nittany, you're on the screen with us. Tell us what is going viral.
Hey, Natasha. What I have for us today is not quite breaking news, but it is something pretty fun. There are a lot of places in Israel that are a big draw-in for tourists, but there's nothing more exciting than Harry Potter's grave.
Wait, what are you talking about? What does that mean?
Well, we all know J.K. Rowling's hugely successful series, Harry Potter. These books were a cultural phenomenon, kind of a precursor to Game of Thrones, I would even say.
Of course. I mean, I loved Harry Potter, but what is the connection to Israel here? Still not getting it.
Well, apparently, there was a private in the British Army stationed here in the British Mandate Palestine before the establishment of the State of Israel, named, yes, Harry Potter.
So Private Potter, we would say.
Yes, Private Potter. And just like the literary legend with the same name, he also had a drive to protect. It turns out he lied about his age and enlisted in the British military and was sent here.
Yeah, but for all those Harry Potter fans out there, I think it's obviously pretty cool to visit the grave of an alleged Harry Potter.
Absolutely. Private Potter was buried at the Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery in Ramle. And surprisingly, a lot of people have already come here to visit his grave. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all wish that J.K. Rowling's books were real, so this is kind of allows you to feel like they are in a certain sense, but we need to do something to enhance Harry Potter here in Israel, don't you think?
I completely agree. But none of us really want to think about Harry Potter as dead, so maybe not his grave. Maybe Israel needs to invest in another kind of Harry Potter draw. Maybe we should celebrating magic.
A wizarding school, a Tel Aviv wizarding school.
A wizarding world of Tel Aviv.
Why not? All right, Nittany, well, thank you so much for joining us with this amazing news. I'm very excited about it.
My pleasure.
All right, my friends, that is it for today's episode of Insight to Israel. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and keep on smiling.